Spider-Man Far From Home has swung into theaters, showing us how Peter Parker continues his life after the little blip that is Avengers Endgame. It also brings several questions with it. Some of them might have answers in the comics, but others have us asking, WTF, Marvel? Well, let's break down Spider-Man Far From Home's most puzzling scenes and try to make sense of it all. Full spoilers ahead. I don't think any of us were really fooled by Mysterio's claims of a multiverse in the Spider-Man Far From Home trailer. Quentin Beck is a huge liar, and it's all part of his sneaky plan. But is it really that simple? Beck refers to the multiverses by their code names, explaining that the planet Peter is from is Earth 616, and that Beck's original home is Earth 833. The official canon of the Marvel Universe at large dictates that every Earth in the multiverse really does have a numerical code. So how could Beck be so spot on about this Earth's code name if he doesn't know the big picture? The Ancient One previously established that the multiverse is real, but how would Beck even know about her or what she knows? Another potential answer can be found in Thor: The Dark World, in which Eric Selvig has the word 616 universe written on a chalkboard as he explains the concept of convergence. Perhaps Beck or his writer learned of Selvig's theory and rolled with it to create his own fake universe. Another puzzle piece can be found in the fact that, canonically, the MCU is Earth 199999, not Earth 616, which is actually the prime universe for the comics. There is, of course, the potential that those on the MCU Earth think that they're in the Prime universe, but we're getting so far down the rabbit hole now that the oxygen is running out. Bring me back, bring me back. Also, given the cosmos-altering nature of Beck's claims, you'd think that Fury and anyone else involved not tied to Beck would independently verify his claim using science. Apparently, everyone just took Beck's word for it, although Beck boasted at one point that his team was able to beam signals to Fury's satellites to convince them that their Earth-bound illusions were real, so maybe that was enough to fool them. In the post-credits stinger, Spider-Man's real identity is revealed to the world by none other than J. Jonah Jameson, editor of the Daily Bugle, once again played by J.K. Simmons. Much of Far From Home deals with Peter trying to keep his identity a secret, so this is a big, crushing deal for him. So who could help him out of this jam? With Tony now gone, Peter doesn't currently have a superhero father figure to turn to, and as amazing as Aunt May has been, she's probably not in the business of wiping everyone's minds. Instead, this sounds like a job for Doctor Strange. He could cast some kind of mass amnesia spell, right? Back in the One Moment in Time comic book storyline, Doctor Strange does exactly that. Along with Tony Stark and Reed Richards, he casts a spell to remove everyone's memories of the day Peter revealed his identity during the Civil War arc. With the Fantastic Four now in Disney and Marvel's portfolio after the Fox deal, perhaps this is the perfect avenue to introduce the genius intellect of Mr. Fantastic. The final post-credits stinger reveals that Nick Fury and Maria Hill are, in fact, Talos and Sorin, two shape-shifting Skrulls introduced in Captain Marvel. Back in that movie, Carol Danvers learned that the army of Skrulls that had seemingly invaded Earth were not aggressors, but actually refugees of the Kree-Skrull War. The end of the story saw Carol leaving Earth in search of a new world for the Skrulls to settle on. But if Talos and Sorin are working with S.H.I.E.L.D., does that mean that the Skrulls never found their new homeworld? Or did Talos and Sorin get on so well with Fury that they decided to just come back and help Fury so he could vacation? If the Skrulls have been hanging around since 1995, you've got to ask, what's their deal? Especially when that deal involves working inside one of the most secretive organizations on the planet. Captain Marvel may have established that the Skrulls were a more multi-layered race than the straight-up bad guys seen in many of the comics, but they still remain one of Marvel's most iconic villains. Surely they won't be good forever. With that in mind, are Talos and Sorin worming their way into S.H.I.E.L.D. in order to build up to one of the most famous Marvel storylines of them all, Secret Invasion? Marvel Studios boss Kevin Feige has said several times that, like humans, not all Skrulls are all good or all bad, so that doesn't rule out a potential secret invasion in the MCU. And Far From Home establishes that there are Kree sleeper cells out there, so maybe the Skrulls will have a slightly different reason for secretly invading Earth. With Thanos out the way, the MCU needs a good new threat to work towards, and a full-on Skrull invasion wouldn't be a bad idea. Come on, Fury, surely you would not have missed Tony's farewell just to hang out on a virtual beach. Tell us there's still some emotion behind that eye patch. Fury was probably there, given that 8 months have passed in Far From Home since the events of Endgame, and Talos and Soren said that they were only posing as Fury and Hill for a week, while he was on another mission. But was their Spidey-centric adventure their only time posing as the secret agents? If it was Talos and Soren in Mexico at the beginning of Far From Home, then it begs the question, what on earth does Fury think he's playing at? His whole reason for being is to protect the world from giant threats. And yet he sat out a new lead by sending 2 Skrulls to serve in his place so he could vacation? Or maybe Fury has his eye on a more serious threat coming from above. Speaking of which, so where was Fury when he walked away from the digital beach? One potential answer is that Fury is on the Peak, a huge space station that acts as the headquarters of the Sentient World Observation and Response Department, better known as SWORD. The department is effectively the cosmic answer to S.H.I.E.L.D., and it would make sense for Earth to be putting together a space intelligence agency in the wake of all the mess caused by aliens in the Infinity Saga. In the comics, Fury acted as the glue between S.H.I.E.L.D. and SWORD, and so there's every reason for him to be on board the Peak. Mysterio doesn't act alone. He's backed up by a gang of angry ex-Stark Industries employees who are all hell-bent on using Iron Man's old tech to aid in making Beck appear like the world's next big hero. But how long had they been plotting this? Was this a quick plan put together to take advantage of the sudden power vacuum left after Tony's death, or something much longer in the making? Perhaps originally designed to topple Iron Man when he was at his height? Beyond that, though, where are they now? Spider-Man may have defeated their current plan by putting their drones out of action, but surely there's plenty of other Stark gizmos they have inside information on that could be used for nefarious purposes. Perhaps this isn't the last we'll see of them in the MCU. Also, Stark Industries might want to take a closer look at their HR department. Far From Home, via some fun video clips filmed on student phones, reveals that those brought back to life by Hulk in Avengers Endgame reappeared back in reality right where they were when they were snapped away by Thanos. That's all well and good if you were playing basketball in the school gym, but what about if you were in a plane during the snap? Do you simply fall out of mid-air and land in a messy heap after nosediving for 35,000 feet? Or do you reappear on the same plane that you were in, regardless of its current location? Well, during a Reddit AMA, Marvel boss Kevin Feige pointed to the fact that in Endgame, Bruce Banner is now Smart Hulk, suggesting that he made sure everyone was safe when he brought them back to life. Is that really all there is to it? Well, we'll just try not to overthink this one. A memorial video made by Peter's schoolmates includes a tribute to Steve Rogers, suggesting the world thinks that Captain America is dead. Of course, Endgame's finale shows that Steve is not dead, merely very old. So why does the world think he's gone? Presumably, Cap decided to live a much, much quieter life after returning the Infinity Stones, letting no one but the Avengers know of his new existence. That makes sense. Our Captain deserves a long, long vacation after all, and there is no better way of ensuring an uninterrupted vacation than by making people think you're dead and buried. Well, those are the biggest WTF questions that we had while watching Spider-Man Far From Home. Let us know in the comments if you have any theories that could provide an answer. And for more on Spider-Man Far From Home, check out our review and Tom Holland's breakdown on how the new Spidey suits work. And as always, be sure to follow and subscribe to IGN wherever you like to watch.